Thanks for finding us here on YouTube. I'm meteorologist John Dawson. This is the Fox 26 Tropical Update just for YouTube. We're glad you're here, and we're going to be able to sort of spend a little bit more time talking about what's going on, because in a newscast they only give you so much opportunity or so much amount of time that you're able to talk about. So we'll sort of spend a little bit more into the discussion. So overall, we're still looking at a relatively quiet pattern across the Atlantic basin. Caribbean is not looking at any sort of areas that are really piquing the interest from the National Hurricane Center. The Gulf of Mexico also remaining quiet. And again, for those of us along the Gulf Coast, we're very thankful to see that sort of activity. In the middle of the Atlantic also is fairly quiet. But when we kind of jump out a little bit, there was a tropical wave that we'd been monitoring, and that's this X here indicated. And now the Hurricane Center is pretty much saying, that's not going to turn into anything. Not going to be able to see anything happen out of that one. But there's two other areas of interest. This is the first one that's sort of starting to reach the eastern edge of the Caribbean. This is some just more or less disturbed weather in general, and it's going to continue to move its way towards the Caribbean and into the Caribbean. And then over a little bit further back on the coast of Africa, there'll be another system that's going to be coming off of the coast. And then this area here in the yellow shading is looking fairly possible that would want to develop into a tropical system. So officially, the Hurricane Center is saying both of these areas have about a 20% chance in the 5-day period. So that's when they draw the little yellow lines in here, indicating that over this 2-day period, not looking for anything to happen. Same thing with both of these systems, that it's the 0 to 2 days, not much happening. And then when they get into the 3 to 5-day range, this yellow area indicating where a tropical cyclone has the potential at least to develop. Now, both of these systems, again, relatively low, only at about a 20% chance that we would expect that they would develop. And I think if we give them a little bit more time, especially this one that's coming off the coast of Africa, I think that one will probably increase its probability as we move through a couple days or so. So just wanted to remind, to sort of step through things. I've heard a lot of people use the term, it's been a quiet hurricane season so far. And I'm not going to be real picky and say that that's wrong or inaccurate, but I would rather just sort of stick with the term that it's been a very average season. It's been very typical in the fact that we've had about 3 named systems through August, and then we would expect to see our 4th named system in August. And if we were just sort of sticking with the historical numbers, we haven't seen that yet. So that is a little bit unusual that August has been as quiet it has been, because typically we really begin to see things ramp up here in the middle of August, and we haven't seen that yet. So within the last couple of weeks, yes, I would agree that things have been quieter than maybe historically speaking, but we are expecting things to continue to move up. And then officially the peak of hurricane season, at least in the Atlantic basin, is September the 10th. So that is for the entire Atlantic basin. So if I could just talk to the folks in the Houston area, for example, right now, our peak would be not quite that late in the year, because historically speaking, our activity that we would see come to the Houston area drops off quicker in the end. So our peak is about where we are today, and for the next several days is sort of this week is sort of the peak for us in the Houston area, again, historically speaking. And all of this goes with different parts of the country. If you happen to be in Miami, your peak's going to be a little bit later. If you're going to be up the East Coast, again, it's another part of the region everybody moves. But for the entire Atlantic basin, that September the 10th is going to be when we reach the peak of the activity. So I would expect to see a few more storms by then for sure. Fox 26 weather app, going to be a great way to stay connected. Make sure you get that downloaded onto your phone. Yes, it works for everyone here in the Houston area, but you don't have to be in the Houston area. It's a weather app that works anywhere across the nation, and it's certainly going to receive the tropical information as well. And if you want to connect with me on social media, that would be great. You can find me at John Dawson, Fox 26. We'll be back here tomorrow in the afternoon, just like we're here every afternoon. We hope you join us for the latest on the tropics then as well.